and today we're going to be breaking down Cottage Buying 101. I'm going to be going over 8 simple steps to buying a cottage property. Number one thing that you need to consider are inspections. There's 5 major inspections that you'll want to consider depending on the features of the property. Number 3, learn the market and review initial inventory. So a couple of things to consider here when you're learning the market.
YouTube, did you guys know I'm a little cottage crazy right now? I've been obsessing over the idea of buying a cottage for a while, so I sat down and wrote a 6,000 word ebook on the subject matter, and today Rebecca from my cottage buying team is going to be on the channel and breaking down for you the exact 8-step buying process that you need to follow if you're looking to buy a cottage. As well, if you are looking to buy a cottage, make sure you grab your free copy of this ebook. There's going to be a link in the video description down below. As well, if you're looking to buy a cottage in Ontario, Canada, make sure you join our buyers list because we've got all kinds of crazy deals that we come across on our buyers list all the time. For example, recently we had a 4-island opportunity. So if you've ever thought about wanting to own 4 islands for less than $1 million, well, you should have been on our buyers list. But anyways, let's hand it off to Rebecca, and she's going to break down for you exactly what to expect in the 8-step cottage buying process. Thanks, guys.
What's going on, YouTube? My name is Rebecca Lynn Matheson, and today we're going to be breaking down Cottage Buying 101. I'm going to be going over 8 simple steps to buying a cottage property. Here are the 8 steps that I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Number 1, determine your wants and needs. Number 2, determine your budget. Number 3, learn the market. Number 4, find a local realtor and fill them in on what your wants and needs are and what your goals are. Number 5, view the properties. Number 6, make an offer. Number 7, due diligence and inspections. And number 8, close on the property. All right, we're gonna start with setting your goals and determining what your wants and needs are. So first of all, we gotta determine what the difference is between a need, a want, and a bonus. So your need are the things that are absolutely essential and non-negotiable. The wants are things that are ideal, but you could do without. And the bonuses are those extra items that you're not really going to take into account, but you would love to have. So in order to determine what your different wants and needs are, you have to go through and create a little list of all of these 3 categories. Starting with your needs, here's a little list of all of the examples of needs that I might want in a cottage property. So here's the list for you. Waterfront, motorboat that is water friendly, maximum 2.5-hour commute, sleeps 10 plus people, 2 bathrooms, 30 minutes to groceries and amenities, 4-season access, winterized or ability to make it winterized, internet setup, electricity and indoor plumbing, as well as rentability. In the wants categories, we have west-facing view, boathouse or ability to build one, a large deck or dock, and less than a 1.5-hour commute, and some privacy. So the difference between the wants and needs category is that one is essential when I'm looking for a cottage, and the wants category are bonuses. And the needs category is essential. The wants categories are important, and it can help sway my decision as to whether or not I want to make an offer on the property. Now the bonuses that I have here are a stone fireplace or wood stove, a sandy beach, and a hardwood floor. So some common motivations that people have when they're purchasing a cottage or vacation property would be to use it themselves just as a luxury item. The number 2 thing would be to split between having it as a luxury where you can go and have some rest and relaxation, and a split between having it as a rental. Number 3 would be just a pure rental. Number 4 would be if you wanted it as an investment where you can get active income as a flip. And the 5th and final common use is the appreciation play if you're looking to purchase when the market is low and sell after some time of appreciation. Number 2, it's important to determine what your budget is. Now, in order to determine what your budget is, there's a few considerations. So when you're budgeting for your cottage property, it's important that you take a few things into consideration. Now, one thing that will help you with your budget considerations is actually to go in and talk to an expert. Talk to a mortgage agent or a lender that's going to be able to pre-approve you for the maximum amount that you're going to be able to offer on a property. Now, a few things to consider when you get a pre-approval is that this pre-approval is not guaranteed. So if your situation changes in between now when you have your pre-approval and when you actually offer on the property, you may not be able to get the same approval that you once had if your situation does change. A few other things that you need to consider when you're offering on a cottage is that you have to have enough money for closing costs. You have to have enough money for moving costs as well, or other maintenance and repairs, and opening and closing of a cottage if it's seasonal. So all of these things need to be taken into account when you're making your budget. Some of the benefits of a pre-approval are that you're going to be able to, with certain lenders, lock in a certain rate for 90 to 120 days. Another benefit would be knowing the maximum allowed offer that you can make, and you'll also be able to estimate your mortgage payments for your budget. Number 3, learn the market and review initial inventory. So a couple of things to consider here when you're learning the market. There's a ton of local Facebook groups that you can go to and talk to other people who have bought cottages, or maybe other investors who are currently renting out their cottages. You can also join a local homeowners association. Another thing you can do is contact local realtors from your network. Pro tip, consider renting a cottage in your local market in order to really understand more about it, and consider talking to the neighbors. They'll be able to tell you important relevant information about the water table, about the access in the winter, and the quality of the water, and just overall background information about the cottage. So it's definitely an important asset if you can get out there and rent a cottage in the market that you're looking to move into. Number 4, finding a realtor and providing them with search criteria for you to find the right cottage property. When it comes to buying a property, it's important that you and your realtor have really great communication. So a few things to consider are ensuring that your realtor has is not a digital dinosaur and has up-to-date communication methods so that you guys can hop onto a Zoom call. When it comes to buying a cottage property, it's important that you have an expert to guide you along the pathway. So finding a local realtor can be a great asset. Now, a few things that realtor should be able to tell you is information about the water, the algae, and any other problems with the waterfront. Another thing that they should be able to guide you on is to be able to do virtual showings and walkthroughs over Zoom. As the 21st century investor, it's not always easy to drive out to every property that you're offering on. So it's good to have an open line of communication with your realtor so that they're able to provide you with information that is relevant, and also in this process, make sure that you identify whether it's going to be you going out to all of these walkthroughs or if your realtor is able to actually do a virtual viewing for you. Last thing, do they pass the chug test? Ensure that whoever you're working with on your power team is someone that you actually like. Are you going to go out and have a chug with them? Or if they're walking down the street, are you going to put your head down? Ensure that this is a person that you actually like, because you're going to be working with this person a lot. So when looking for a realtor, just make sure that they pass your chug test. And that's directly from Blue Fishing. If you haven't already read that book, make sure you do. Number 5, viewing the property. Now this one seems pretty straightforward, but if you're offering on a bunch of different properties in various locations, you might not be able to get to all of them. So it is important in that initial conversation with your realtor that you have a conversation about how you actually want to go about viewing the property. Is this going to be something that they're going to be able to go to for you and talk to you on a Zoom call, or are they going to take a video, or are you going to go yourself? So make sure that you have that conversation just so that you two can work together efficiently. A few things to ask of your realtor would be to have them email you a list of all potential properties. And you can also have them provide you with 3 tester properties so that you can communicate back to them what you like or dislike about them. Now, a few additional things that you can provide for them to make their lives a lot easier is your overall structure and method of communication that you would prefer. This comes down to, if they're going to be sending you listings, agreeing upon a method of communication. Are you going to be responding to every single listing that they send you via email, or what does that communication process look like? Ensure that you provide your needs, wants, and likes to your realtor as well. So the best way to do this is actually create some sort of vision board or Trello board so that they can visualize it themselves. And once you've actually done that, you can then build a communication process together. Some steps that would be beneficial would be for your realtor to actually provide you, once they have those needs, wants, and bonuses, if they provide you with 3 sample properties so that you can tell them what you like or don't like about the properties. Then going forward, they can actually start sending you listings. Now, an additional pro tip is ensure that you have a conversation about what type of communication stream you have between these listings that they are sending to you. So if you're able to actually respond to every single listing in a set period of time that both of you agree upon, then it just keeps everyone engaged in the process and you'll be able to find that property even sooner. Number 6, submitting an offer. Now, this is pretty much the same as any other residential property, with a few exceptions. A few things that you really need to consider with a vacation property is specifically inspections. Now, one thing that you should know is that inspections differ depending on the features of the property. So you do need to seek out those inspections, find out if they've already been done or if they need to be done. And you can use this in your negotiation process. All right, pro tip. A great philosophy for submitting offers would be to ensure that your terms are clean. So anything in that Schedule A that you're including as a condition on the property, make sure it's clear for the realtor or for the seller to read through. It's going to be viewed a lot easier and they'll take it more seriously. When submitting an offer, you may consider putting some of these additional things into your offer. Submitting an offer on a standard property is very similar to how you would submit on a recreation property, with a few exceptions. Now, I'm going to present you guys with a list of some common things that you may want to consider adding into your conditions on your offers. Now, pro tip, make sure these conditions are nice and clean so that it's easy for any seller or for their agent to read and understand. So here's the list. Make sure that you guys also take a little photo of this list because this is really important that you keep these in mind when you're making offers. Water-related things. Potability certificate from local health authority confirming the water is safe to drink. Confirmation that the well, pump, and related equipment have performed adequately during the seller's occupancy. Provision of a well's driller's license. Provision of a well driller's certificate if available. Location of the well. In addition, the septic system. Confirmation the system was installed with necessary permits. Copies of any inspection or approval reports in seller's possession. Confirmation that there are no work orders on file with the Ministry of Environment or the local municipality. Seller agrees to pump out the tank at their own expense prior to closing. Pro negotiation tips for you. You should actually negotiate to have things like toys, boats, fishing gear incorporated into your sale. This is very common with cottage properties. And the other piece is you can actually negotiate to have the seller do a walkthrough and a tutorial of the property before you actually jump into it. So that will give you everything you need to know about the property on closing. Now we're going to talk about number 7, general due diligence and inspection. So there's a few things in addition to a regular property that you need to consider when you're doing your due diligence for a vacation property. Number one thing that you need to consider are inspections. So you still need to have your financing set up, you still need to have all of your closing costs covered. You also need to ensure that there aren't any right-of-way agreements or easements on the property before you close. But specifically for cottage properties, let's talk a little bit about inspections. So there's 5 major inspections that you'll want to consider depending on the features of the property. Here are the 5 major inspections that you'll want to consider. Number 1, a building inspection. Number 2, a fireplace, wood stove, or other fire accessories inspection. Number 3, a septic system inspection. Number 4, lake or water quality inspection. And number 5 would be well quality inspection. Number 1, when it comes to property inspections and building inspections, it's going to be very similar to a standard property, with one consideration is that you should actually have someone who is qualified with recreation and vacation properties, because there are a few things that differ when you're having your home or building inspected. Just ensure that you have a phone call with them ahead of time and ensure that they're familiar with this type of property. The other thing to note too is that you can actually have a guarantee from them for up to a year on anything that they inspect. So make sure that you check into the options when you're getting a home or building inspector for your cottage property. Next inspection is going to be our fireplace or fire appliance inspection. So this is actually called the WETT inspection. Make sure that you look that up and get one of these if there are any wood-burning stoves or fireplaces on the property. The cost of this type of inspection can vary from $50 to $200 depending on how many things need to be inspected and the extent of the inspection. The next thing that you should have inspected is the septic tank. Now you can have this negotiated into your condition on the property, on the sale, or you can have it done yourself. Now, most septic tank inspections are going to include a full pump out, an inspection of the inside, and beyond. So this can range between $100 to $400 depending on if it's a standalone inspection or if it's bundled with the home inspection. The fourth thing to test is the lake water quality. You can actually check the Government of Ontario's website in order to determine if there are any pre-existing issues with the lake quality. Now, if there aren't any issues there, but you have concerns, you can get it tested. So this is the fourth thing that I would recommend that you look into. Now, the fifth and final thing that you should have inspected is your well. So it's really important that you actually do test your well, because this affects absolutely everyone who's going to consume the water, and it affects its potability. Public Health Ontario actually does this test for you. So all you have to do to get this test done is take a sample, ensure that that sample is secure in the Public Health Ontario sample kit, and just take it to them. Once they're done with that test, they'll actually bring it back to you and ensure that you have all the information you need. All right, guys, step 8 is closing on the property. This is your 8th and final step where you get the keys. Now you get to execute on whatever strategy or motivation you had for buying the property. And don't forget about that pro tip. If you've negotiated into that agreement to have a little orientation with the seller, it's a great way to kick off your dream vacation property. Thank you guys so much for joining me on today's video, Cottage Buying 101. You can actually find some off-market cottage properties at www.cottagebuyers.com/private deals. My name is Rebecca Lynn Matheson. You can also find me on Instagram or hop over to my YouTube channel at Rebecca Lynn Matheson for more great content about cottage country and about buying cottages. So don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe below.
Thanks again to Rebecca for taking the time to shoot this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your suggestions, and anything that you think we overlooked in the cottage buying process. As well, make sure you grab your free guide. Yes, it's completely free. There's a link in the video description down below. All you need to do is grab it. And if you're looking to buy a cottage in Ontario, Canada, make sure you join our buyers list. We're doing the most amount of deals in the cottage space this year, so make sure you get on our buyers list if you're looking for a cool deal. I'm actually looking for a cool deal myself, so I'm looking forward to getting a lot of deals on the buyer's list. But as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments on today's video, but also what is your dream cottage? What does it look like? Let me know in that comment section down below. Mine is waterfront. It's like 5+ acres. There is 0 neighbors, and ideally, like, no one can hear your screams.